Madam Speaker, can you feel it? after this masterful presentation by the Minister of Trade and Employment, followed up by the Member of Parliament for the Sofia constituency, I think we can all go home, Madam Speaker. But of course, we are here to debate this very interesting budget. And Madam Speaker, I want to thank you firstly for the opportunity that you have given me to speak on this budget presentation. Let me first of all, Madam Speaker, before I even begin, express my empathy to the families in St. Joseph who were in the accident this morning. I had the opportunity, Madam Speaker, to leave Parliament briefly this morning, along with Dr. Darroux, to visit some of the injured ones at the hospital. And I want to pray for their speedy recovery. And I also want to reach out to the families of those who were affected at this time and let them know that our prayers and the prayers of the entire community are with them. Madam Speaker, of course, we are here at this period of time, the beginning of another financial year, to look at a budget, Madam Speaker, under the theme, Realizing a Modern, Prosperous Dominica. And Madam Speaker, I had the privilege to both listen to the Honourable Prime Minister yesterday during his budget presentation, and also took the opportunity last evening to read the budget presentation word for word. And I must emphasize, Madam Speaker, reading the budget presentation. And the reason for that, Madam Speaker, is because I wanted to ensure that everything that was highlighted by the Honourable Prime Minister in the budget presentation was in fact there. Because a lot of times, Madam Speaker, we tend to not to find out information for ourselves and to do our research for ourselves. And I think as a country and as citizens, we have to be able to research things for ourselves, find out the information, and not just go on hearsay. And Madam Speaker, after reading the budget presentation, I must conclude that the presentation made by the Honourable Prime Minister, it was well-rounded, it was people-centered, it was impactful, and it is in fact a working man's budget. So anybody, Madam Speaker, who is interested in working, finding employment, there is something in this budget for them. And that is important, because the opposition has, over the years, criticized this government for not providing employment. But here it is. And you heard the Minister for Trade and Employment, the member for the Portsmouth constituency, highlight the figures, Madam Speaker, which is critical, to let us know and let us appreciate that the investments that we continue to make into this economy continues to provide meaningful and gainful employment for the people of this country, Madam Speaker. And with your permission, Madam Speaker, I would like to read one paragraph on page 3 of the budget presentation, so as to bring to the fore, even more vividly, Madam Speaker, the point that I'm trying to bring across. And I quote, "In the new, modern, prosperous Dominica, the main doers will be our people. I am addressing all of our citizens," and this is the Prime Minister speaking, "our farmers, our tourism stakeholders, our private and public sector, our youth, Our definition of success would be whether the broadest cross-sections of our population, from Vickers and Portsmouth to Granby and La Plaine, from the Caribbean Sea to the Atlantic coast, have been lifted to a new level of independence, participation, and development. End of quote. Madam Speaker, here it is that this Labour Party administration continues to be people-centered and continues to focus on raising the standard of living of every single citizen in this country. And we've gone from not just assisting the ordinary citizen, that is to say, the fisherman, whom we have taught to fish and who now can go out there and fend for himself. And we've done so through trading. We've done so through making boats available to the fishermen, providing them with outboard motors, providing them with nets, so they can go and fend for themselves. The farmer, Madam Speaker, we've made the facilities available for the farmer. We also have in place the abattoir, where the farmers now can secure these funds and can improve on their farming and the production. The vendors, and the Minister of Tourism will tell you, the major investments that we're going to make in the vendors. And the member for the Roosevelt is here. And he knows what we're talking about as we continue this to assist the vendors, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I made this reference to bring us now to another sector of society, another strata, Madam Speaker, which sometimes the Labour Party has been criticized for. But very importantly, in this budget, we are now seeing significant and continued investment being made to this sector and these people. And Madam Speaker, I am speaking here of the emerging middle class in our society. And what is beautiful about this, Madam Speaker, it is this Labour Party government who has invested in these young people, who has sent them to study, and they are now coming back to Dominica to make a meaningful contribution towards the development and the advancement of our country, Madam Speaker. And what we have done in this budget, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that we can address significantly some of the challenges that this emerging middle class has faced. And one of the peculiar challenges, Madam Speaker, is that in their education. Because while we have sent them out and they have been able to attain a first degree, we are now seeing through the Ministry of Education, provision is now being made available for these young people with these brilliant minds and brilliant ideas to now have the opportunity through a priority list of disciplines that the Ministry of Education and also the private sector will identify, and government to provide the additional funding so they can now go and further their studies to get their masters and their PhDs and come back and continue to build this country, Mr. Speaker. And that is important. That is very important. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, we are also making provisions in this budget to meet the housing needs of these individuals. And many of us here on the government side can testify of this, because we have a number of them in our constituencies, where these young people, these bright minds, they have come back from studying. Some of them have their student loans to pay. Some of them they now become the main breadwinner in their families. They go back, so they go back to their communities. And what we have found, Mr. Speaker, is that these young people, they now want to raise their standard of living by owning their own homes. And they've had challenges going to a financial institution and securing the mortgage that they can now build their own homes. But this Labour Party government is a caring government. This Labour Party government, Mr. Speaker, is a government that looks out for our citizens. And that is why in this budget, Mr. Speaker, we are making provisions for these young people to have the ability to seek the assistance that they require, and the government of Dominica will assist them in entering into an agreement with them so that they can now go to the financial institution, get their mortgages, and we will assist them in owning their own homes. Isn't this something that we can be proud of? Because at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, what we have done as a Labour Party government is continue to raise the standard of living of our people. And this is unparalleled. So when you listen to the opposition speak, and of course they are speaking from a point of ignorance, we have a responsibility as a government to educate them. And I recall last year during the budget presentation, the senator from Maho, he was totally unaware as to what was happening within the National Employment Program. And I had to school him. I had to let him know exactly what is happening within the NEP. And I'm sure now he is a better student as it relates to the National Employment Program, Mr. Speaker. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, through the intuition of our Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, and you see, again, leadership is everything. The interaction with people is very important. The Prime Minister recognized that while it is true that we need taxes to continue to develop this country, but we also have a responsibility to not place a greater financial burden on the taxpayers of this country. And what we've done again in this financial year, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that we have increased the tax threshold from $25,000 annually to now $30,000 annually, ensuring that someone who has a yearly salary of $30,000 and below, that will no tax will come from this. And someone who makes more than $30,000 annually, only the amount more than $30,000 will be taxed. And that is to ensure that we have more monies in the pockets of our people, more spending money. This is a brilliant move by this government. Because we could have sat back on our laurels, Mr. Speaker, and we could have said, we have just come from Erica 2 years now, and we still need monies to continue to do the roads, to send our children to school, to provide medication at the hospitals. And we could have placed tax burdens on our people. But no, Mr. Speaker, we've not done this. We have ensured that we have increased the threshold so that we can have more spending money in our pockets, Mr. Speaker. And I commend the intuition of the Prime Minister for this move. Mr. Speaker, you see I'm wearing a pink tie today. And it's no coincidence. It represents cancer patients, families with cancer. The color pink. That's what it signifies. And I can speak of this, Mr. Speaker, because I had an aunt who succumbed to cancer. And I'm sure there are many of us out there who have had family members that we have lost to cancer. And the cost of cancer care is prohibitive, Mr. Speaker. And you can well imagine the anxiety that some families have to go through, wondering how they are going to treat and get the resources to treat the cancer patients. And again, Mr. Speaker, this Labour Party government has ensured that in this budget, we've made allocation that will specifically provide medication for the cancer patients here in this country. And this is a plus, Mr. Speaker. And that has to tie in also with the Red Clinic. Because you heard the member from Rosewood North again criticize the Red Clinic. But what these gentlemen do not understand, Mr. Speaker, and it shows that they are out of touch with people, really and truly, that when you have situations where families have no choice, they have no income, an emergency comes up, where do they go to? And the Prime Minister has always made the remark that he wondered what used to happen before there was this Red Clinic. What used to happen to people? But Mr. Speaker, we make absolutely no apologies for ensuring that we take care of the citizens of this country. Because as a government, we have a responsibility to our people. And as a member of parliament, when people elect you, you have a responsibility to make effective and proper representation on their behalf, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we continue to reach out to our people. And that is why over the last several months, Mr. Speaker, you would have seen the Cabinet of Dominica and members of Parliament go from Capuchin to Kashaku in a series of town hall meetings, meeting the citizens of this country, the ordinary man, listening to them, interacting with them, finding out what their concerns are. What is it that we must do for them? This is what governance is about. Listening to the people, putting plans and programs in place to benefit the people, Mr. Speaker. And rest assured that after we've completed this budget, we will once again continue an outreach program to bring across the message and to continue to listen to our citizens in every nook and cranny in this country, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, the Dominica Labour Party, when it was elected in 2014, presented a manifesto to the people of Dominica. The plan. And I've had the opportunity on several occasions to read this manifesto and go through every page of this manifesto, because it is important. And what this manifesto continues to demonstrate is that we are well on our way to achieving all of the plans and goals that have been set out in this manifesto. And I take you to page 49. And what do you see here? You see the New West Bridge. And it is a reality. It is a reality. You go to another page, and you'll see the picture of the indoor sporting facility. And the Minister of Youth and Sports is here, and she'll speak to it later in her presentation. But it is a reality. And the $40 million for this project, it has already been found, Mr. Speaker. And we will ensure that we deliver this project to the young people of this country, Mr. Speaker. Right. The new National Hospital, it has begun. Yes. And the Minister of Trade and also the Minister of Health, they've already said publicly that by October of this year, we will see phase 1 of this new hospital being completed. And so we continue to pray for the smooth operations of this project, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, it shows clearly that this administration, Dominica Labour Party, is a government that deals frontally with practical issues, compared to an opposition that continues to dream. I'm not sure, Mr. Speaker, if you have ever seen this movie, Alice in Wonderland, and all of these fantasies. This is what the opposition is about. But we, as the Labour Party government, we understand what is happening in the real world. We understand the external forces and the implications they can have on our economy, Mr. Speaker. And that is why we continue to put plans and programs in place that will ensure that in spite of the challenges that are being faced globally, our economy here will continue to stay afloat. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, while it is true that we will have to go some of the agencies out there for funding of certain projects, we also have a responsibility to our people who have elected us as an independent nation, as a government, to bring across to them a level of development that they have never seen happen in this country. And the only government that can do this in this time is the Dominica Labour Party. And so, Mr. Speaker, when I listened to the leader of the opposition earlier on, I could only conclude, here we go again. A diarrhea of words, but a constipation of action, Mr. Speaker. That is what it was. Because in all of his flamboyance and exuberance and his eloquence, that's all it was. It was empty, abstract, speaking without any figures and facts. So just a diarrhea of words, but as always, constipated for action. And interestingly, Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition remarked that we can't build Dominica with partisan politics. And I was taken aback. What utter hypocrisy. Was that the leader of the opposition speaking? Was that him? And I had to ask Honourable Johnson Drago, who is sitting next to me, to pinch me, to make sure these words were being uttered by the leader of the opposition. We can't build Dominica with partisan politics. And Joseph Isaac sat there, member for Roseau Central, and he didn't stop Mr. Linton and say, member for Marigot, take it easy, bossman. You don't know what you're saying, take it easy. Because, Mr. Speaker, and the Dominican people need to know this. The Dominican people need to be reminded of this time and time again. That the track record of the United Workers' Party will clearly show that once they were voted out of office, they have destroyed this country with lies and propaganda. They have taken Dominica to the gutter for their own selfish political ambitions. And they have continued to denigrate this country. That is what their track record is, Mr. Speaker. And since the member of Marigot assumed the position of opposition leader, it has gotten much, much worse, Mr. Speaker. And today you want to stand in this parliament and say, let us build Dominica and put away partisan politics? What utter garbage. This is the same Workers' Party, Mr. Speaker, who have time and time again boycotted national events. Independence Day, the youth rally, national consultations. They've boycotted national events. And how can we forget? And the member for Portsmouth, the Minister of Trade and Employment, he made mention of it. After Tropical Storm Erika, these gentlemen on the opposition side, Mr. Speaker, they did not have the testicular fortitude to stand up and work towards the development of this country. What did they do? They walked out and they started making excuses, Mr. Speaker. A time when Dominica needed everyone to be on board. That is what they did. They walked out on Dominica, and today you want to come in this parliament and say that you are ready to be the prime minister of this country? God forbid. How can we forget D-Day? D-Day. You heard them on the radio stations? D-Day means Destruction Day. How can you be for Dominica and you want to destroy Dominica? Colluding with foreign forces, external forces, to bring down this country, to promote your own selfish political ambitions. And you have the audacity to come in this parliament and say you want to build this country and put away partisan politics. Take this to the lab, man. Because that's what it is. It's garbage. It is garbage, Mr. Speaker. And we have to ensure that we put things in proper perspective and let the Dominican people know that these gentlemen, they do not care about Dominica. They do not care about bringing this country up.
Mr. Speaker, I think the...
But they want to continue to destroy this country, Mr. Speaker.
Rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker. I think the member has really been given too much latitude. He's now casting in proper motive, Mr. Speaker.
No, but what's the point of order?
The point of order is that the member is casting aspersions on the opposition members and party.
Casting aspersions.
But Mr. Speaker, that is the attitude that they continue to display. But we are above this, Mr. Speaker. Because you see, Mr. Speaker, on the government side, we meet with our constituents. We interact with people on a day-to-day basis. We know what the average man is going through. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to put programs in place to ensure that we can raise the standard of living of our people. And when you have an investor willing to make a significant contribution towards the development of the country, providing jobs, ensuring that we can develop the tourism sector and the product, and a member of the opposition is discouraging the investor to invest simply because his party is not the government of the day.
That's right.
How can we stand for this and then say we love Dominica? How can we use the word patriotic and we are patriots fighting for a cause? So you understand, Mr. Speaker, why I had to resort to such language. Because really and truly for too long, these atrocities that the opposition members have continued to display, we have to put a stop to this. Dominica is too important for us to be bringing this country down when as a small country of 70,000, we can come together and build this country. And that is why, under the leadership of Prime Minister Skerrit, this Dominica Labour Party will remain focused on the task ahead and will continue to deliver to the people of this country, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I will once again explain to the Dominican people what has happened here. And it is just 3 letters. C, B, and I. This is what has happened, Mr. Speaker. CBI.
That's right.
And I've had the opportunity to go through the estimates, particularly the capital estimates. And one will understand and have an appreciation that if they go through the capital estimates that we are presenting in this financial year, you will see that a significant number of our projects are being financed by funds raised from the Citizenship by Investment Program, Mr. Speaker. And the CBI has bamboozled the opposition. They do not know if to turn left or if to turn right. Because this is what the CBI has done to them. These men go to bed at night and all that's on their mind is CBI. 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 And what has happened, Mr. Speaker, and I'll tell you, a few parliaments back, they came in parliament and they made mention that this government was lazy. This government did not have the negotiation skills and all of this to raise more money from the Citizenship by Investment Program. This is what they say. And the Hansard of Parliament will record that. But to their shocking dismay, Mr. Speaker, when they began to see revenues increase from the Citizenship by Investment Program, and when they began to see the impact it has been having and will continue to have in developing this country, they got shell-shocked and they started to bring down the CBI program, Mr. Speaker. This is what happened. And I've said it before, and I will say it again, that they want their hands on the CBI money. That is what they want. That is what they want. You heard it. That is what they want, Mr. Speaker. But you see, Mr. Speaker, we don't have time to get into all of this back and forth with the opposition. We have a plan as a government. We have been elected by the people, and rest assured, whenever the bell is rung, the majority of Dominicans will once again place their trust and confidence in Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and the Dominica Labour Party, Mr. Speaker. So, really and truly, Mr. Speaker, I cannot remain silent whenever I hear the letters C, B, and I. I cannot remain silent. And Honourable Paul, I'll tell you why. Because you see, Mr. Speaker, I must speak. Because I must speak for the 2,568 individuals who are 70 and over receiving an allowance that comes from the Citizenship by Investment Program, Mr. Speaker. That's right. Mr. Speaker, I cannot keep silent because I must speak. And I must speak for the 2,180 individuals on the National Employment Program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must speak because I cannot remain silent. For I must speak for the over 800 individuals who have received assistance from the Small Business Program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot remain silent because I must speak. And I must speak for the over 500 families and more who will be benefiting from the washroom programs funds from the CBI, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must speak because I can't remain silent. For I must speak of the fishermen across this country who continue to receive assistance with their fishing boats, their outboard motors and nets with funds from the Citizenship by Investment Program. Mr. Speaker, I can't remain silent because I must speak for the farmers of this country who can now receive additional inputs for their farms and receive assistance for farm labor and receive assistance to increase production in their farms with funds from the Citizenship by Investment Program, Mr. Speaker. Right. C, B, and I. It's a thorn in the flesh of the opposition, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, we remain focused as the government. We remain on track as the government. And we will ensure, Mr. Speaker, that with the revenues generated from the Citizenship by Investment Program, we will continue to inject it back into the economy of this country so that our people, at the end of the day, can have a better level of development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, permit me at this time very briefly to touch on the Ministry of Information, Science, Telecommunications and Technology, a very important ministry. And Mr. Speaker, earlier this year, we witnessed the full operations of the Center of Excellence. And this center, Mr. Speaker, provides the opportunity for Dominican citizens to receive the training in ICT-related skills. And we're very happy with the government of India, who has partnered with us for the first 2-year period of the Center of Excellence to ensure that we can have a cadre of young, talented Dominicans acquiring these skills at the center and then having the opportunity to improve on their work ethics, to improve on their business skills, to come back and contribute towards both the private and the public sector. And earlier this year, we saw 130 students graduate and receive their diplomas from APTEC, having completed training in a number of areas under the Center of Excellence. And I speak, Mr. Speaker, we currently have enrolled 226 students at the Center of Excellence who are currently receiving training in Android app development, in project management, in 3D Max and modeling, in networking and in Cisco, and a number of other areas, Mr. Speaker. And we have also put in place, from the ministry standpoint, a plan of action. So when the 2-year period has elapsed and the Indian team goes back to India, our very own Dominican people will now make the transition of taking over the center and continuing the training that we need right in this country. And we are doing all of this as a government, providing these skills, very important skills for our people, free of cost, at no charge. Because we understand, Mr. Speaker, that in the advanced age of technology, for any country to be ready to meet the demands and the new jobs that will become available with technology, we have to have a trained workforce. And that is what this Labour Party government is doing. So when you hear them speaking of not teaching a man to fish, but feeding him for the rest of his life, here is a clear example of a Labour Party government empowering its people, providing them the skills and training, so at the end of the day, people can become more marketable, more employable, and at the end of the day, get jobs for themselves and provide employment for themselves, Mr. Speaker. Additionally, throughout the ministry, we have also undertaken a very aggressive approach, Mr. Speaker, to bring across to rural Dominica smart rural centers. And we've already established one in the community of Grand Fort. And what will happen with smart rural centers, we will be able to have linkages with the centers in these various communities and the Center of Excellence to provide the training at a localized level so that a young person who lives in Grand Fort does not have to come into Roseau at the Center of Excellence to receive the training. And in this new fiscal year, we'll be going to the community of La Plaine. And I see my good friend, the Minister of Education, he's smiling about it because he can well understand what this center will do in his community. And of course, Mr. Speaker, we'll be going to other communities as we move along. So all this is in an effort to ensure at the end of the day, we can continue to provide our citizens with the skills that they require, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are also going in this financial year in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, to host a National Science and Innovators Fair. And what this will do, Mr. Speaker, it will provide the opportunity for ICT-savvy young people, those who have gone through the Center of Excellence, those who are doing computer programming and coding, or math students, physics and chemistry students, to have the opportunity to come to this National Science Fair and Innovators Fair and to showcase their talents and their abilities and to let us know what are some of the viable projects that we can look at and provide funding towards so that our young people can move up the ladder. And that is critical because I believe here in Dominica, our young people have brilliant minds and brilliant ideas, but they need the support. And that is what we are doing for them as a government. We are giving them a shoulder that they can lean on. So at the end of the day, their skills, their talents, and their abilities can be taken to another level. So we will have the opportunity at the National Science Fair to see all of the skills that they possess, to see what they can have on display, the creative ideas they have on display. And we can provide them the support, whether it's financial, whether it's technical, and we can take that idea to another level. Why is it that Dominica cannot have a young person making millions in the ICT sector? Why is it? And I believe we have the potential here. And as the minister, I will be the driving force behind this. And I'm sure that my colleagues will support me in this endeavor, Mr. Speaker. And we will also be teaming up with the Ministry of Commerce and Small Business. Honourable Paul and myself have already begun discussions to see how best we can get some of the young people who have now been trained at the Center of Excellence and who now want to venture into business opportunities to provide them with support that they require to build on their business ideas so they can employ other young people as well and they can now generate income for themselves and this goes back into the economy. Because this is what builds economies, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and the investments that we are making towards small, medium enterprises will go a long way towards boosting the local economy and providing jobs to our people, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, these are some of the programs and plans that we will have in this financial year within the Ministry of Science, Information and Technology. Of course, Mr. Speaker, I am here in Parliament today because of the good people of the St. Joseph constituency. That's right. They have sent me to Parliament. They have sent me here to speak on their behalf. They have sent me here to represent them. They have sent me here to echo their concerns and to ensure at the end of the day, as the Member of Parliament, I can continue to raise the standard of living of my people throughout the St. Joseph constituency. And that is who I represent here in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And I am proud to represent my people. And I know, Mr. Speaker, that they continue to place their trust and confidence in me as the MP to ensure that the needs and the needs of the constituency are met, Mr. Speaker. And very importantly, Mr. Speaker, education has always been a priority. Right. And that is right now in the constituency, we have a number of young people at tertiary institutions across the world. In China, we have young people from the constituency there. Even at Ross University, we have young people there who are currently studying, Mr. Speaker. And a number of them will also be going out in this summer to Grambling State and Midwestern to further their studies, Mr. Speaker. And I always encourage the young people of my constituency to take advantage of the education opportunities. Because this Labour Party government, we have a mission to ensure that we have a university graduate in every household in this country, and we are well on track to achieving that, Mr. Speaker. And the Minister of Education will speak of all the assistance that is there for children and students. And all of us know the bus transportation, the uniform assistance, all of these things. All of these are fine, Mr. Speaker, and as a government, we'll continue to do that. But I also have a responsibility, not just as a member of Parliament, but also as a concerned citizen, to continue to exhort our young people to take their school seriously. That's right. That is important. Your parents are making an investment in you. The government is making an investment in you. But you also have a responsibility as a young person to take your schooling seriously. When you have to be in class, you cannot be outside on the block. When you have to be in class, you cannot be in the yard running up and down. When you go to the state college, you cannot be in tongue liming. You have to ensure that you are in class. Because we are paying the tuition for you, we are giving you a transportation allowance, but at the end of the day, you also have to play your part, Mr. Speaker. And I want to continue to encourage our young people to take their education seriously. And throughout my constituency, Mr. Speaker, I will be going on a mission at all of the schools in my constituency to refurbish all of the computer labs at all of the schools in my constituency. The Caleb Laura Primary School in St. Joseph, the Western District SDA Primary School in St. Joseph, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School in St. Joseph, the Bells Primary School in Bells. All of the schools in my constituency. I'll be going on a mission to refurbish all of the computer labs and to ensure that all of the computers at all of these other schools, they are functioning effectively. Dr. Darroux, I'll come to you. Yes, agriculture. My constituency is one of the largest agricultural constituencies, Mr. Speaker. Very large constituency. And I want to start with what is currently happening. And right now, we are now spending $2 million to rehabilitate the Cuba-Cahome Road. A very important road. An area with high production, high yields. The farmers in this area, they are very serious farmers. They work diligently. Farmers like Kevin Charles. Serious farmers. And we have done some significant work on the road thus far. And an additional $2.7 million has been budgeted in this financial year to complete all of the works on the Cuba-Cahome Road, Mr. Speaker. That's right, that's right. And as I speak, there was an area, very vulnerable area next to Firaras place up in Cahome, that we are now doing some serious work on. And I want to commend all of the contractors so far for their diligence and the work that they have done. I want to also commend the farmers for their patience and tolerance, because now the work has started, we can see a difference already. And as soon as this budget is passed, we'll continue the rest of the work that has to take place on this major farm access road. Additionally, in the Bells area, the Stonehill Road, the farmers of Bells, you recall I came to the town hall meeting and I told you all that we will get that road fixed. And in this financial year, Mr. Speaker, we will see works commence on the Stonehill Road in Bells. My farmers in the Lai Valley area, the Atlee, Niba, Krong, Shapara area, Shapara, yes. We have the funds under the Banana Company measures, and this is one of the roads that will be targeted. A major farm road again in the Lai Valley area. I have visited this road several occasions. Gone to the last farm of Mano, right up there in Atlee. It's like when you go up there, Mr. Speaker, you're in another world. But the farmers are hard-working farmers. And we have to continue to support the farmers in this area. And rest assured that we will provide the support for the Atlee, Niba, Krong, and Shapara Road. Mr. Speaker, we have the abattoir in my constituency. An $11 million project. And I really want to commend the Minister of Agriculture for his leadership in all of this, in ensuring that we now have the abattoir fully operationalized. And what we'll be doing in this financial year, Mr. Speaker, is that we'll be giving the workers a 2-year contract. So we'll be raising the standard now, give them a 2-year contract, so they can have more opportunities that they can now go to a financial institution. They can get a small loan for themselves to fend for their families. And I really want to commend the workers, particularly those from my constituency who are working at the abattoir. Because these young men have been doing a tremendous job. A tremendous job, Mr. Speaker. And we have seen an increase in production at the abattoir. And the minister will speak to that in his presentation, give the figures, the numbers, and the outputs that is taking place at the abattoir. And what we intend to do, Mr. Speaker, in this financial year, under the Ministry of Constituency Empowerment, one of the projects that we'll undertake is to develop a poultry farm where we will target some of the unemployed women in the constituency, that they will lift their standards, and they will be in charge of that poultry farm to supply to the abattoir, and they can also do eggs as well to supply to the local markets and the local supermarkets as well, Mr. Speaker. All in an effort to provide employment and empower the women of the constituency, Mr. Speaker. Additionally, the Bells Farmers Group, a group that is very close to my heart, will continue to provide support to them. And through the Ministry of Commerce and Enterprise, we have a program in place to facilitate the packaging of the dasheen in Bells. And we have already met with them, we've interacted with them, and we'll be taking this project forward in this financial year. You also heard the Prime Minister mention that there will also be a program in St. Joseph. And again, through the Ministry of Commerce and Rural Enterprise, we'll be working with the Fisheries Cooperative in St. Joseph. We've already gone ahead and done the training program, where a number of young men from Layu, from St. Joseph, from Mero, they have been trained, they have received their fisherman card. We provided the cooperative with some support. As the power rep, we'll provide them with some more support and ensure that at the end of the day, we can see them maximize that support and they can go out there and make a meaningful living out of fish. Because there is money to make out of fishing. A pound of fish is $10. So that is what we are doing. So when they talk about jobs, this is what we are doing, creating jobs in the economy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, tourism continues to play a major role in my constituency. We have the best beaches in Dominica in the constituency. And I speak here of the Mero Beach, the Surprise Beach, and the Layu Beach. So we have the best beaches. Honourable Darroux, I know people took it, but it can be compared to the beaches in Mero, Surprise Beach, and Layu Beach. And the plan is, Mr. Speaker, and I will speak specifically to Mero first, and just Monday of this week, we had a town hall meeting in Mero where we are going to invest in the development of the yachting sector in the community of Mero. And I really want to thank the Minister of Tourism for working along with me as a power rep, ensuring that we can get this project off the ground. And what this will do for Mero is that it will do something similar for what yachting is doing in Portsmouth at this point in time. Boosting the local economy, providing jobs on the local level, ensuring that the services are being provided right here in Mero. We will build a jetty and put in the other infrastructure and ensure that the yachts can come into Mero and we can see greater revenue being made from the tourist dollar in the community of Mero, Mr. Speaker. In Layu, we've already constructed a permanent stage on the beach, which is already saving the community $9,000 when they are hosting the Titui Festival. And what we are going to do after the budget, we are going to do a washroom facility right there on the beach and also do some additional bars, permanent bars, and have the beach properly marked out, because there are opportunities. And we are going to work with the Layu Improvement Committee to boost sports tourism in the community of Layu, Mr. Speaker. So all this is in an effort to provide jobs locally for the people and to ensure at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, we can raise the standard of living for the people as it relates to tourism. In Bells, we have the Spanish Falls. As I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, we are now doing some major works on the road leading to Spanish Falls to ensure that the tourists who will visit that facility when the new cruise ship season opens will be able to walk on a proper footpath leading to the Spanish Falls. So we will have special security and safety measures in place to ensure that the tourists can be safe going to that site, Madam Speaker. And in all of these communities, Madam Speaker, we have provided small business support that will now enable our people locally to be able to build on their existing businesses, to be able to open new businesses so that they can receive a tourist dollar and even dollars from the local economy. And that is important. So when the new season opens, the new cruise season opens, we will see a greater influx of tourists into the St. Joseph constituency. And Madam Speaker, it's just getting started because we are nearing the completion of the York Valley Bridge. And once the York Valley Bridge or the Glossier Bridge is completed, we will now see greater activity taking place in the Layou Valley area for both tourism and both agriculture. And you heard the Prime Minister mention in his address that we are now about to engage a firm to give us the designs for the road from the York Valley Bridge to Pocasset, a major road. And this road is something that as the PAREP I am committed to because this is a major road towards the interior of the country.
That's right, that's right.
A major road in the interior of the country, Mr. Speaker. And additionally, Madam Speaker, we will continue through the Ministry of Tourism to provide support for community activities. So we have festivals in the various communities, and we'll get support for all of these activities and provide support for the vendors in these areas, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in housing, we've seen a transformation taking place in the constituency. As I speak to you right now, houses are being built. We've just completed houses in Bells. St. Joseph houses are being built. The washroom program is ongoing in the constituency.
That's right.
And we now have the new St. Joseph at Hillsborough Gardens, where over 30 houses were constructed. And we are now in the process, Minister Austri, of completing the other infrastructure to make available to the people of St. Joseph additional lots for the development of homes in the Hillsborough Gardens area. This is what we are doing. This is what we are doing, Madam Speaker. And I can tell you, one thing about this government, when we are selling lots to people, we put in all the infrastructure. We put in the lights, the roads, the telecommunication services. Because we know for a fact, Madam Speaker, that some of the private developers, when they sell to people, they miss out on the infrastructure. And the government still has to come in and put in that infrastructure for the people. But we are a caring government, and we'll continue, Madam Speaker, to invest in our people. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more people build their homes in the new Hillsborough Gardens. And Madam Speaker, we have a special piece of land in Hillsborough Gardens allocated for a modern playing field for the community of St. Joseph. And this is important. And we will commence work in this financial year on this playing field at Hillsborough Gardens. Because we have produced in the community of St. Joseph a number of young men and women in the area of various sporting disciplines. In cricket, in football, we can boast of a number of people from St. Joseph who have benefited from playing sports in the community. And we will be starting work on this modern facility, and we'll be doing it on a phase-by-phase basis, Madam Speaker, to ensure that in this community of St. Joseph, in the new Hillsborough Gardens, we will have a new modern facility to meet the needs of our people, Madam Speaker.
You have 3 minutes left.
December time.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honourable Minister be given an additional 10 minutes to complete his presentation.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honourable Minister be given a further 10 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Continue, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I will move quickly now, Madam Speaker, to skill training in the constituency. Very important. As I speak, we have skill training programs taking place in bartending, in food preparation. We've just completed one in boat building. And in September, we'll be starting computer training programs. All in an effort to empower our young people throughout the constituency. And just last week, Wednesday, it was, Madam Speaker, I went to the community of Mero, right down the block, sat down with the young men in Mero, and asked them, what are your plans? What is it that you want to do? Because I saw some of them were interested in fishing. And we sat down and had a discussion. We dialogued together. I listened to them. And Madam Speaker, they told me what their intentions and what their plans were. And as the power rep, I listened. But not only did I listen, Madam Speaker, we've already made available to them we're going to make available a fishing vessel, an outboard motor, and some other fishing equipment, Madam Speaker, to continue to empower them, because they told me as a power rep that they are interested in fishing. So we're going to develop that skill for them, Madam Speaker. And right in Layo, we've allocated lands to Mr. Budley Carrett, a fisherman for several years, and also a boat builder, where he now has the opportunity and he has the avenue now, as he has been doing, to train young men and women as well in the skill of boat building. And that is something that is taking place. And we'll continue to provide him with the additional support that he needs to continue to boost on his boat building and also the fishing, so that we can see the young men of Layo, of St. Joseph, of Mero, getting that skill, which is only a few minutes away, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we are well on track. Additionally, we will see the dredging of the St. Joseph River. This is a concern that has been raised in the constituency, in the community, and we will see some works being done to dredge the St. Joseph River. Very importantly as well, Madam Speaker, for the community of St. Joseph, is a vendors market and a resource center. The land has already been purchased by the Government of Dominica. We are in the process of meeting with the architect to get his concept of the land and how the building can fit onto the land. And we'll be meeting with the community in the upcoming months to bring to them, Madam Speaker, the plan that we have for the development of the resource center and vendors market for the community of St. Joseph. In addition to that, we've already started a very ambitious program of completing all village roads. And we'll continue this program in the new financial year. The main road from St. Joseph to Layo, this bypass, very important. We will see works commence on that bypass in this financial year. Also, the continuation of works on the Bells Village Road, this will also continue in this financial year, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, a project that is very dear to my heart, and I must speak to it, because it has been on the cards for a while now. And this is the Emergency and Resource Center for the community of Layo. And this project was conceptualized, Madam Speaker, after the collapse of the Mate Dam in 2011. And I can report, having gotten the information from the Ministry of Public Works, that the tender documents for that project have already been reviewed, and a tender report has already been submitted. The CDB, which is the Caribbean Development Bank, has given its no objection to proceed to prepare the contract documents for the project. The approval of the contract is expected within 3 weeks, which is by 18th August 2017. After the signing of the contractor will be given a period of time to mobilize, and have been advised about 4 weeks to mobilize. And we expect to see works commence on the construction of the Emergency Shelter and Resource Center for Layo sometime in September 2017, Madam Speaker. Very important project for the community. And this is part of the CDB project for the complete rehabilitation of also the infrastructural works from the Hillsborough Bridge up to the York Valley Bridge in the Layo Valley area, Madam Speaker. Additionally, the contract has already been signed for the works to the north of the Hillsborough Bridge, $5.7 million to offshore civil and marine. And we expect work to commence in this financial year on this project. Very important project. The area was impacted after Tropical Storm Erica. Madam Speaker, I must say this before I leave as well. The residents of Bells can now boast, Honourable Austri, that they now have the Wasco water in their pipes. Thanks to the Government of Dominica, $4.5 million. $4.5 million invested in a small community of Bells, Penrise, Pont-Cassé, to ensure that we can bring potable water, Madam Speaker, one of your favorite words, potable water to the residents of Bells, Penrice, Pont Cassé. And this is very important, Madam Speaker, because while they may say that there are a lot of sous and ravines and rivers in Bells, but at the end of the day, the safety of the residents of Bells and the drinking water is very important. And as the power rep, I made that commitment to the people of Bells, and I have delivered this product to the people of Bells to ensure that they now have potable water at their home, Madam Speaker. And I also ensured that the WASCO gave them the connection free of charge. Free of charge. And the residents have been coming, and none of them have already gotten their water at the home. And the Minister of Education and the Minister of Health, we have to ensure that the health center and the primary school, they are also put onto the system. So I'm hoping that by next week, there will be water from the WASCO at the school and at the health center in Bells, Mr. Minister of Health and Mr. Minister of Education. And so, Madam Speaker, there are a number of other projects that will take place in the constituency, but I will meet with my constituents one-on-one and at community meetings to bring across the information. But I really want to, Madam Speaker, to recommit myself as the MP to the residents of the St. Joseph constituency, a constituency that has stood firm with the Dominica Labour Party and a constituency that will continue to stand firm with the Dominica Labour Party, Madam Speaker. I want to say, Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. God bless the Commonwealth of Dominica. God bless the St. Joseph constituency. And God bless the Dominica Labour Party. Thank you, Madam Speaker.